Okay.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to welcome to our Healers Unite, a blueprint for connection. So we're going to go over how to plant and grow the Healers Unite movement in your community. So this is going to be the specifics of our phase one. So following our presentation, we did a few weeks back on like the overall big picture. So if you've not watched that, I'd recommend going back and checking that out, because it kind of lays like a larger framework, and then we're kind of going into like more specifics now. So so the larger framework, we went over just about how we were ready to start sharing our bigger vision, and our bigger vision extends beyond North Carolina. So or just even the Triangle region in general, you know. So we're trying to grow this much bigger. So we're trying to inspire others to take the helm of, you know, running some of this to you know, have ownership of it, so that you know, it supports them and others while we work to kind of grow this bigger vision. So that's what we're going to go over today. So first, just a little bit about me. So I was sent here to lead. I'm now labeling myself as an energy healer and a channeler. So the information that I've downloaded, received for this movement has, you know, come to me through, you know, spiritual guidance. So I was sent here again to lead, but it's not because I have all the answers and I don't have like a nice little tidy solution in a box for everybody, but I have the vision and the support of my spirit team that's been guiding me to bring this into the light. So for a long time, I thought I was waiting for this, you know, just like, I don't know, like it just to happen, or this financial windfall for me to be able to like pull it all together. But I was thinking that way on my own, right? Like I was like, well, I'm supposed to do this on my own. I was supposed to raise the funds. I'm supposed to get this off the ground. And it just was not happening. And I, again, checking in with my spirit team, they're like, no, this is the right path. And I, you know, really just then dawned on me that this needs to be done in community through grassroots efforts, or it's not going to work. And that's when I started meeting people like Karen and Yoli, who works on the social network along the way, and they had additional pieces to this puzzle. So we've all joined together, and we're to make our individual visions stronger. Hey there. So yeah, so we've met other people along the way to make our individual vision stronger, and growing that into this larger Healers Unite network. So now we're delving into more of the specifics of our vision, which we're calling the seeds. So I like to say that, you know, I have been gifted these visions, and I see them. I have this like brain tower right now, just like chock full of seeds, and they're starting to spill out. So we need to start planting them so that others can, you know, enjoy the benefits of them growing and seeing the flowers and the fruit that they bear. So if you've listened to any of me talking previously, you know that I'm more of the big picture person and the first steps. So I'm good at here and here, but the middle is where we need the momentum and the people to kind of, you know, bring that vision into reality. So that's what I'm here to do, is kind of just share, you know, that bigger vision and, you know, kind of the first steps to getting started, so that we can, you know, start to build this movement together. So let me start on the presentation and share more of the details of our seeds, and then just see if anybody has anything else to add. And then just so we will be following this meeting with a survey we're going to send out later this week. So if we don't have your email currently, we have an email list going, and we very minimally send stuff off. So there's no automatic function. It's just Karen and I sending out emails. So for now, you know, nobody's being spammed. So we'd appreciate it if you could share your email and just in the chat, or email it to us if we don't have it. Right. So Sacred Hub. So starting your local hive. So this is what we have started hosting meetings at 3 different locations locally to Raleigh. So Energescence, New Earth Energies in Wake Forest, and Solely Holistic in Raleigh as well. So those locations, the owners were gracious enough to let us use their space, and that's kind of how we see the future of this being centered, right? Is like we see these central hubs or hives and centered around maybe a metaphysical shop, a wellness center, or just a homegrown network, right? So if the network is just local, right, like local to an area, or grown up from a couple of people with like-minded philosophies and whatever, but we want to see people start to grow these hubs themselves and start hosting regular community gatherings or meetings. So what we had set up was bi-weekly meetings, and obviously those can continue at the locations around Raleigh. We're asking for people to join in helping to plan that, right, and coordinate that. So not necessarily like you're only assigned to one hub, but there are people that coordinate the hub centered around Solely Holistic, let's say, and that's their local hive that they attend meetings through. Or there's 10 people that came together because they all, are Reiki practitioners and they wanted to connect and build a hive too. We feel like, those can fit into this network as well. And then we, would like the structure to be that there's these, smaller local hubs and then more regional hubs, and, just kind of builds from there. So at the meetings, at the community meetings, at the local hubs, we'd like to see that there'd be facilitators rotated through, so that different people have the ability to come in and present. So last week we had a presenter who did a majority of the meeting and presented on her healing specialty, which we'd had in the past also featured healers for a shorter amount of time, but we kind of liked the format that we had last week, and think that that's something that could continue, where there's a featured healer, or we've even listed here some other formats. So those types of presentations, or their workshops, even potlucks, silly stuff, ways to bring people together. We really feel that the community aspect of this is huge, and getting people even virtually or physically to these locations to just kind of build up that network of local support and like-minded people to support each other and to grow this. So we are here offering the template, right? So kind of just, hey, this is what we've done. Here's examples of how we've done this and are continuing to do this. But each branch and each network that starts can shape its own direction as part of this larger whole. So are you being called to start a local hive? Although y'all are in the local region, so I think that you can join one of the others. So ecosystem, so core connections and visibility seeds. So these are under our Healers Unite kind of larger movement. We see these local hubs, and some of the seeds will exist within the local hubs, or maybe at a regional level. Those are sort of details we still need to kind of flesh out as we have more people come in and volunteer and start to build this up. But these are some of the things that we have and want. So Soulella is our selling point at this point that we have in existence, and we have lots of healers featured on there. So if you have a healing practice, we'd like you to create a profile on Soulella. That's where we have we'd like to push people to Soulella as a way to find their healers. So part of our mission is making this easier for seekers to find healing, because Karen and I came together on this project because we both had difficult times navigating our healing journey and finding the people that were right for us along the way. So because of that, that's why we were drawn to create the directory. And we want to locally and at a larger level push people to come to the Soulella directory to find their healers. So as opposed to just Googling or searching on Instagram or however your preferred method of finding people is, which in our opinions is very difficult, we're changing that focus to being through a directory, so that we are pushing advertising and pushing people to just that directory so that they can find their healers there. So that's the biggest thing that we have right now. And then the second that is just getting off the ground is called the Holistic Hive. So there's a sign up link in our link tree, which we'll send out an email. It's also on our Instagram. The Holistic Hive is a private online social network for connection and support. So if you've ever been part of a class, or you could compare it to Facebook groups, but we are not continuing Facebook groups because that is part of the point of this, is to get us off of the big social networks. Okay. But it is similar to the functionality of a Facebook group, but it's ours. Okay. So it doesn't have the, you log on and you get distracted by your cousin's kids, or you start looking on Marketplace and get lost, right? If you have a brain like mine, that's every time I log on to it. But this is its own app, its own, website that you can go to and interact with like-minded people. So this week we had somebody in the Holistic Hive post one of her free events for tomorrow night. She's doing a, I think, an intuitive, what was it? It was a intuitive development class. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's kind of like you can practice any craft that you have, and it's under the guidance of a psychic, or someone that has psychic abilities.
That's right. Yeah. So she posted her event on there, and we're just getting started. But the more people that join, the more social and friendly it'll be. So we really ask you to go out and join there to interact with other, again, like-minded people. So that is, again, that was one of my biggest visions with this whole experience of mine, is bringing people together, not only in person, right? So the original, the last slide was about the local hubs and the in-person meetings. The Holistic Hive is again, online social space for people like, me, who can't get out of the house that often, or, just, need somebody to talk to here and there, or, just share silly memes with and whatever. I'm not sure about everybody else's healing journey, but I've found mine to be quite lonely. And, I've lost a lot of people from my past who don't really understand, this healing spiritual journey. So, losing all those people and then not having somebody to replace them with has just been a struggle. So another reason why I'm here, creating this. So please come be my friend on the Holistic Hive. All right. So next here is social media collective. So what we see with this movement is creating shared posts on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Currently, we have a shared Instagram page, which is just a lot of me, a little bit of Karen, just blah, blah, blabbing. But what we'd like to see this be is people, again, from a local area, let's say, based, we have to sort out kind of the structure of it, but people within a local area creating content together and publishing that on a shared Instagram, a shared TikTok, right? So, to alleviate the need for healers to try to be influencers. This is another big sticking point of mine, that I do not feel that everybody who is a healer needs to have the ability to, put themselves out online, or the the personality to put themselves out online. It doesn't need to be that every healer has that ability to, you know, create and share videos. It doesn't feel necessary to me. And it was such a big hurdle for when I was getting started that I couldn't fathom that everybody was doing this. I liken it to nursing and the medical field. And I really feel that healers are, I will say equally, to not offend anybody in the medical field, as important as nurses and doctors. And it to me is just crazy that we're out here creating TikToks and things to sell our services where nurses just exist, right? Like you just know to go to the hospital, right? So we'd like to get this field more in that kind of light where, you know, you're just people where you're creating content and things that is able to be shared collectively, and we're, you know, pulling more people from the community in to understand that as well. So that leads into this talk show where we spotlight local healers and demystify our work. I think that I really have this drive to make things local, because I think that when you see that it's your neighbors and it's not some woo-woo weirdo that's like online just spewing stuff that you don't understand. It's like, it's Carolyn down the street. You know what I mean? Like I know Carolyn, like she's not that weird. She like walks her dog past my house all the time, you know, like she's normal. So that's what we're trying to do with like featuring, you know, local healers. And we think that too, again, another thing that I don't feel that everybody has to have the talent for is creating podcasts. Plus, this is just like I don't know, maybe a personal aside. The numbers just don't make sense, right? Like, you know, if every healer here has their own podcast, who's listening to all these podcasts, right? There's just too much everything. So it's not saying if that's your thing and you have a podcast, or if you have a social media following and you like it, I'm not forcing anybody to get rid of anything, right? But it's more so the people that are coming into the field, or, you know, feel like, oh my gosh, to be successful, I have to do all these things. You know, we don't feel like that is a need to be successful, and we would like to eliminate all of those barriers to being successful. So a local talk show to us would look kind of like, you know, one featured healer per episode. I don't know if that's weekly. You know, they come on, maybe they're able to either bring clients, call in to clients, and have them share more of their experiences. I'd love to be able to, you know, share stories publicly about, you know, my healing experience and how, let's say, integrated energy therapies, the specialty or the modality we went over last week, and how that's helped me, or cord cutting, and, you know, how these different types of practices have helped us to clear, you know, trauma or negative energies or different things. So just to, again, demystify that. So that's what we kind of see with this talk show. So just in the group here, is there any ideas that y'all have about that would be similar to these, or things that you could see?
Those are some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
I would love to participate on some of these podcasts.
Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome. I think that, and after this, well, I'll sell it hard, the call to action, but also like we're going to have a survey, and then we're going to start putting up posts asking to fill roles, right? So we need somebody who's interested in podcasts, who, you know, let's join up and like, let's start talking about how to create that. So that's going to be next up on our list of things to do. So yeah, if you're interested, get ready, because we're going to start asking you to participate. Okay, next. Okay, so learning and legitimizing seeds. So kind of twofold. I think that first, the way I see this is by people who are new to the field. So people who are coming in, and I know some of you teach classes, people that are taking your Reiki 1 class. What I found, and again, shared that I don't have the friendliest family and friends around me to support me in this new venture in life. So I really struggled trying to find people I could practice on, right? Like, who do you go to practice, energy healing if the people around you aren't super into energy healing, right? So we would like to build a network to practice your craft. And we kind of see this as not necessarily having to be within specialties, right? Like, you come out of a Reiki training, and then there's other people in the group that just learned how to do tarot readings or something. Practice on each other, like share those services to work on your skill set and become more comfortable so that you can start to practice. And I know that some people who have larger networks do have those kind of built in, but we'd like to be able to share more locally with other people being able to come and practice their craft. So we see that as both something that could exist online and something that could exist in person, like meetups in person and on the Holistic Hive network as well. We'd also like to see this grow into like a mentorship platform. I'd ideally love it if like our little hive leaders, our queen bees, or the king bees, come in and kind of lead a network of practicing your craft. Again, things we can kind of work through, lots and lots to brainstorm on these things. Next up here is, so that I feel like is learning as a healer yourself, right? Like, we all, I think, can use to practice our skills and grow with each other in that way. And then the other way I feel like talking about learning and legitimizing our field is by showing like displaying publicly what our healing services can offer. Okay. And I think that there's other folks who we've talked to on these meetings about making the field less woo-woo is my thing. That's the way I say it, but easier for people to understand. Like, how like we write things at an 8th grade level. Like, we need the 8th grade level of healing services to be able to explain to people that this isn't as woo-woo as you think, right? Like, the line between science and spirituality is very, like, gray. And like, I think there are ways of explaining it, especially from my experience, because I have that scientific mindset and background, that I think that there are ways of explaining this and how these processes work that you can explain in a more scientific way to kind of get more people on board. With that too, also come from a research background, and I think there are very easy ways to do kind of research and show what we are doing and how it is beneficial. I hear everybody's stories, right? As practitioners, I hear everybody's stories about, this kid who couldn't speak and now he can, this person who had pain and now they don't, this person who had this traumatic experience and now they've, worked through it. These are all things that like, I think that you can prove. So I really would love to see us start to work together on ways to do research. And then it's out there, but it's so separated and just not like structured in ways that I think that is getting through to the people who need to hear it. So that's another goal. But also testimonials. And again, this kind of ties back to that talk show and getting more people to be able to share their experiences so that people are hearing from their neighbors and their friends, and wait, this person isn't that odd, right? And this is working for them. So and maybe I didn't say this before, but our goal with all of this is to increase the number of people who are in like seeking healing services. And we don't operate in a mindset of that we're in competition with each other. We are of the mindset that there is enough to go around, and we just need to make it easier for people to access and easier for people to understand. And I think that I said, when I went through my healing experience, I really was kind of opposed to spirituality. It just didn't seem like me. It didn't fit my belief system. And then once I started to get into this and started to heal and realize like how beneficial this is, then I got mad that like it wasn't designed for me, right? That, it didn't quite fit with something that I would have found, like on my own, if that makes sense, right? So that's part of my mission, is also to just make this easier for people to access and to understand. So anyway, that's what we think we could do with, legitimizing the field and making it more accessible. And I don't know why I threw this in here. It made sense at one point. But anyway, we also want to make sure we're breaking down the walls of the belief that we have to go this alone. This is probably bigger in my last like presentation that we did, was kind of like big picture and how we are meant to grow in community. We keep talking about the seeds in the garden. And, one of the things that we said before was that like, we think that individual healers are in these little pots, right? And you're becoming root bound, right? There's all this like expectation of work that you have to do. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so tight, right? Like you can't break out of your muggle job. You can't keep all of these like, ducks in a row that you have to do to be able to have a successful healing practice. And we are asking you to break out of that pot and plant in our garden, because we feel like the root systems are going to, help to support each other and help to us all to grow, right? There's sunshine, there's soil, there's food for everybody, right? And we have the support of each other if we join together. So that's what we're really trying to convince people to drop the individuality, right? Drop the like, I have to do this by myself. Drop the like kind of capitalist beliefs that we're all like, sucked into, that like, no, I have to struggle and I have to do this myself. No, we are here to support each other. And I think that there's, what I keep saying is like, once you sit and kind of think through this, there's this remembering that this is the way that it always has been and should be. So we're trying to get people to get back to that type of mindset. So any other ideas here for suggestions of what we could do?
Nothing immediately, but I like your vibe.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about getting a booth at the Body Mind Spirit Expo.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to share that with Healers United or Healers Unite. So I'm doing it for my trip.
Yes.
But certainly I'm happy. I can talk about Healers Unite, but I would want somebody else there with me at least a good portion of the time.
Yeah, we could definitely think that or look into that for sure. Like we last time did an ad that wasn't really like but we definitely not opposed to it. So we can talk through like what it would look like.
Yeah, did you have one in February or?
We went. It was kind of awkward. So we went and thought that we could maybe have conversations with people, but then we realized obviously these people are trying to like make money, and sell their services. So it's like not really like you can have a conversation. It's a little bit weird because it's like the people that are coming are seeking services, but those we are advertising to them as well, right? Like we want to start advertising to people who are seeking services.
I think you might be surprised at how many practitioners are there and without a booth, right?
Yeah. So sure. I mean, we were, but
yeah, like me, right? I mean,
right.
Technically I'm an energy healer, but I've never had a booth there. So, but I'm thinking that August is a good time for me to have a booth to kick off my trip next September. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to create a banner. I'm happy to contribute to creating a banner for Healers Unite also, and I'll send you guys a link to what I'm looking. I'm looking at it. I think it's Vistaprint has these roll up banners, so they don't take up any space when they're rolled up, but they're
Yeah.
like 2 feet by 7 feet or something, right? And then they stretch on this thing, and so because I'm gonna make an investment in my trip because I'm expected to do this England trip multiple times, not just the one time. So
Yeah, you want to build up like a base of like
well,
clients
right.
and whatever.
So
Yeah.
and I feel like if you don't have anything there, it's really hard to get people's attention at all. Right.
It's
So
which is what we are trying to help with, because visibility is very difficult, and
right.
that's kind of the struggle that we are having, and we see this isn't like just so I joke, but it's not really a joke, that my job is mining the internet. Okay, so I go out and I found, if you look at my Woo Guru profile, I think I have like 4,000 people I follow or something, because like I'm just trying to go out to find people who are like-minded, to like have some sort of like reference of like, look, there's at least 4,000 people who are like kind of in the same, mindset or whatever.
Right.
Just to, I don't know, have them somewhere. I feel like I'm collecting things, but at the same time, it's like I've familiarized myself with all of those people's profiles and like some of the people that I follow. And I've through Healers Unite, if I have not followed you, it's kind of shocking if I haven't found you, but if I haven't, you can send me your profile and we'll follow you there. But also, and I don't want to, like, I don't want to with this insult anybody, because I'm also out here getting like 5 likes, you know what I mean? But like, it's a lot of effort to put all this work into creating content and creating videos to put them out there for 2 people to like.
Right.
And, I see this not just locally, but everywhere.
Right.
And again, a lot of us are sharing the same messages. Like, and I don't discount the people who do have good, a following, and that's what they want to do, and they are sharing like a unique message. And if that's what you want to do, that is awesome. Yes, people need to find what our field some way, and social media is a way that people find information and learn things. So yeah, there is a need for that, but there's not a need for everybody to do that. So that's what we'd like to see, kind of more consolidation, and like you're talking about, like just even those types of little things, like, hey, let's work together on a booth, or let's more just like local getting together and trying to work together to make this easier for everybody.
Right. And I have Instagram and Facebook, but I would also be willing to contribute to your Healers Unite social media and come up with a different version. I put the same exact thing on Facebook and Instagram when I post, but I haven't posted anything in a while. I'm going to start back very soon. So, but I could, if you want, if you and Karen want some more help putting stuff on Healers Unite social media, I'm happy to help with that too.
Well, appreciate that. Yeah. And we'll have a sign up for kind of all of those functionalities, like what's your interest, and I do not mind putting videos out there. I'm not going to ever be, I feel like, influencer level. Like, I want to be like locally known, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to be an influencer. I just want local people to know and start to listen to like our message.
And I've actually never done a video. I've only done sayings and wise words or whatever. So
did you want to say something, Carolyn?
Yes, I would. Hi, everybody. Great to see you all. So apologize. I'm usually working at this time. I got off a little early today, so I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball. it was to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is a community of healers helping healers.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to the body, mind, spirit, and we're putting out our stuff to the people who are attending body, mind, spirit, that for some reason doesn't make me feel safe in this kind of community, because that's not, I guess that's not kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for healers to uplift and support healers. And I thought that that's what this was about.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think that there's multiple layers to what we're doing. I think that was just a super specific thing that just like Jennifer brought up. It's not really like our goal to do those events. It's actually, I understand the need for those events right now. We are not the biggest fan of body, mind, spirit, and we would like to see events done differently and grown locally. I have lots and lots to say about that, but I don't want to go into too many specifics. So there's lots of different aspects of what we're trying to do. We have, over the past couple months, hosted in-person meetings that have been varying levels of successful, and we have in those meetings we're trying to find, I don't know how to exactly say this, we're trying to find exactly what those should look like, but then it became more like we were dictating what they should look like. And that's why we're trying to shift this into it being more the people who are attending those meetings deciding what they should look like, and not Brooke and Karen deciding what those meetings should look like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so currently we have kind of an established meeting, I don't want to say schedule because they're not actually scheduled out right now, but like we have the ability to use Solely Holistic, Energescence, and New Earth Energies meeting spaces. We've hosted meetings out of there, and they've looked a little bit different over the course of this past couple months because we're still growing and trying to figure this all out at the same time. So they were a little bit more businessy at first. We're kind of leaning into now letting those again kind of be created, I don't know what the word is, but created by the people who want to attend those meetings, while the other aspect of Healers Unite is this kind of support network that we're talking about now. And this is what I'm calling like, this is our phase one. Okay, so this is kind of like everything I'm talking about today is our phase one of us sharing seeds or visions about what we would like Healers Unite to be as like on a big picture. But locally, and I think you missed like the first thing that I went over, was locally we would like to see hubs centered around maybe metaphysical shops. If there's not a metaphysical shop in your area, maybe it's like, just a few of you gather together in a community space of, there's many options, but we're trying to make this kind of like almost like a template you could, take and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to follow what they're doing. They've kind of started this and they have some of the stuff all worked out. We can start to build our own network over here. But then there's going to be core aspects that are shared. One of those core aspects will be the directory. Another one would be the social network that we have online. And then we have to sort out what goes where for some of the other stuff, if that makes sense. So the core of all of this is healers supporting healers. The other, if there are two cores, does that make sense? I don't know what I should call them. Pillars. So one of the pillars is healers supporting healers. The other pillar is making it easier for people in need of healing, who we call seekers, to find healing services and healers. Okay, because being on that end of it, as somebody in need of healing, I did not find the process to be very easy to navigate. So that's part of our goal. And our other goal is, kind of, again, along this path of us coming into becoming healers as well, we realized how difficult it was to create a practice that supports you. And there's a girl, M.E. Gonda, she does runes and a few different things, but she is the one that introduced me to the muggle job. So that's not my phrase, but we joke about needing to have muggle jobs, okay? Because I'm not going to, presume anything about anybody, but I'm going to just assume that you'd prefer to do the healing as something that supports you fully and not also have to have this other job that, doesn't fulfill your life's purpose. Okay. So what we're trying to do is one of my abilities, and this is like muggle job ability turned into like, now I have these visions of how to help healers specifically, is the ability to kind of look through a system and see where there's too much duplication, see where there's too much waste, and see where there's too many things that are just bogging people down with day-to-day tasks. And when I came into healing as a field, I just looked around and was like, basically, and don't, excuse my French, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is everybody doing this themselves? Why are 300 people in our region all have their own Instagram pages and podcasts? And we need to focus on the healing services and getting the people. And that's the thing where I think is we need the people to seek the services so that y'all have more clients, right? And you have more people to then, shift that balance where hopefully at some point you eliminate the need for all these tasks that you really don't have to do. Again, if you compare it to nursing, nurses don't have Instagram pages. Okay. So we eliminate the need for you to have all these tasks that you have to do while you focus on your healing services. And we also collectively share knowledge publicly to build up the desire, need, accessibility of those healing services. Does that make sense? Okay. So at the core, yes. And I said that we kind of, get it on little tangents and asides or whatever, that are a little bit more specific. And I am such a squirrel kind of mindset that if you get me on a topic, I'll run this way. So yeah, it's just, if I were getting too far off, just, try to rein me back in. But all right, let's go see what the next one is. I don't have it printed, so it's kind of like a surprise. I'm like, oh yeah, this one. Okay, so events and engagement scenes. So this does tie back into what we were just talking about. So I would like to see, we, don't, if I say I mean we. It's just kind of, my brain. But we'd like to see free events by healers for healers. So I was just talking about Diane Reiser. She has this event tomorrow. It's psychic development. Why can't I think of the word? But anyway, yeah, you said. So it's developing your skills. She's hosting it. It's free. It's for other healers, right? It's for other people who are in these practices. That's amazing. Events like that, I think, are really helpful for us to meet each other too, right? I think that there are ways that just even my new place, I'm going to start to have fires and have people with like-minded people come over, hang out, just to chat, right? So we'd like to see people, hosting more things where people are getting out and meeting each other and whatnot. We'd also like to see, and I think I meant to change this to free or low cost public wellness talks and events. One of the things that I'd seen recently was in Raleigh. The city parks in Raleigh are amazing, and the recreational services they have. And there is the ability in so many different community centers to host your own events, right? You just have to be the one that puts it together, sends it to them, and they'll put it in their, booklet for people to sign up. And one of the things that I had seen recently was a mindfulness class for kids. So I think there's so many ways that we can explore using community centers and using ways to host free again, low cost wellness talks and ways of getting out into the community and making this a little less woo-woo, a little less weird. Okay, so speaking of body, mind, spirit exo, again, what's that called? Like a necessary, I'm not going to say evil, that's too extreme, but we don't like the way that it is set up and structured. It just feels like it's like a money grab, and it's just meant to, you know, body, mind, spirit themselves, it just doesn't feel like has a lot of like care and concern for the people coming in who are in need of healing services or seeking healing. And it's just kind of like, you know, get people in here, you know. Yes, the work that people in there are doing is helpful, and it is nice for people to be introduced to that, but we think that there are way better ways to do that. So for example, you know, if you've been there, there's kind of this whole middle section of people who are providing services or readings or whatever, but there's a million different kinds of readings. Okay, so one of the girls, Yoli, does human design. There was people doing massages and Reiki, crystal, you know, crystal healing, tarot readings. Like if you walked in there, okay, and were curious, okay, if you were a curious individual and you walked in there, where would you go? Right? Like I don't know how you would navigate that place without any prior knowledge. So the first time I went with somebody who I happened to know that was spiritual and, you know, kind of helped guide me through there. But I would like to see us put on more events of that type with better design and thoughtfulness. Okay, so I don't think that's a difficult thing to do. There are people that are already doing that, and we've, you know, seen some of their events locally where they're trying to put on events with a couple different healers and kind of like community centers and whatnot. And it's just about the numbers. It's just about being able to get people there. So BMSE has the advertising dollars to get the number of people into that event, but the local people who are trying to put on their own events just don't have those the sheer numbers to be able to get the word out enough. So we'd like to be able to partner with people who locally are interested in hosting events and planning those, and working to, you know, get more healers locally to be able to participate in those, and then also make it easier for those, again, in need of healing services and seeking healing, to be able to navigate it and not be so intimidated. I think that's kind of like the underlying like energy to me of like the BMSE. It's very intimidating, and I think that there are ways to make those types of events less intimidating. And then
I was just looking for a way to find people that don't know about us that might be interested in joining.
And it serves a purpose, and I don't like, you know how like you have like two opinions on something. It's like I think that there's ways for us to improve it. Does that make sense? But like at the same time, it's like, yes, what it is right now is very helpful to be able to get yourself out there and be recognized and have people sign up to things. And I don't see it as a regular participate in it.
Yeah, I don't see it as a regular thing. I see it as while we're trying to take this plane off, you know, we're trying to take off, we want to gather up some more passengers.
Yeah. Exactly. And I said it's like a necessary step. I will not put the other word in there. It's a necessary step on this path, but I don't see it as like unless they were to make some changes, I just don't see it as something that like aligns with our mission. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't, like we see events handled and happening in a different way. Wow.
And I long term don't see myself going there either to find people. I expect to find people through word of mouth and prior trips, etc. So, but for this first time and starting out, it seemed like maybe an easy way to find some people. And you know, spirit works in a bunch of different ways, and sometimes it just needs, you know, wants a little help on our end to give somebody an opportunity to run across us that's not going to run across us another way.
Yeah. And I said, it's right now the only thing that fills that need, I guess, obviously not just locally, but it does exist for a reason. We just think that we could improve it. We're going to be better. So that's all. But anyway, yeah, we also would like to see either through the meetings or in addition to the meetings. I know that Karen and a couple people were able to go on a hike, for like fun time stuff. So we'd like to see there be more, again, people kind of meeting up and doing just fun stuff for the sake of it. So again, another way that we're, I guess, not necessarily supporting each other, but building friendships and building relationships amongst people that are like-minded. So any other ideas for building engagement or events? All right, next up. Okay, and then this is like it's a different type of, different category of seed, but at the same time, this is another big pillar of mine is advertising and marketing support. So, I guess it ties into kind of everything I've been saying about, we have the directory. The goal of the directory is allowing people to get started easily, to have a central location where people are able to go and say, oh, okay, I understand what healing is. Now I'm in need of a healer. Let me go to this directory and, use simple ways of searching to find people. So you can search through keyword terms or just kind of, flipping through people's profiles. There's pictures available and you can describe yourself on there, like what types of healing you do, so the people are drawn to you, because we do know that there is that aspect of like people finding somebody that is aligned with them, and we want to be able to provide that through the directory of being able to have that profile where people can find you. But it is, again, one central location where we're pushing people to through advertising and marketing. So this is where one of the when we start to ask for people to fill like volunteer roles in this whole thing, this is going to be the first one, I think, is somebody who is interested in helping us with advertising and marketing to understand kind of what areas would be helpful to advertise in. Like my thought was like the indie, doing some Facebook or Instagram ads that are fed to people, because again, we're also, throwing our money at Instagram all individually, right? And so say that there's 50 of us in Raleigh that are all doing Reiki, and we're all like, hey, let me throw in a couple dollars a week to get these Instagram ads. Okay, let's take all those dollars on one ad for Healers Unite that points people to Soulella directory. You're going to get way more people that are going to see that, right? Like just based on simple numbers there. So that's what we're trying to do, is shared advertising, again, push to the directory. And through that advertising, we'd also like to use it to reach more people that maybe wouldn't have thought that they needed healing services. So one of our first ideas, which kind of got backburnered for a little bit now, was to advertise cord cutting. Okay, so we had like a little funny way of advertising cord cutting. We were going to advertise it to people who were just getting out of relationships or like in a shitty relationship, like, hey, cut the cord to that douchebag, come get some cord cutting services to clear that negative energy or whatever. So we'd like to see kind of like fun stuff like that to kind of reach out to people who maybe wouldn't have thought that healing was something that would work for them, but then once they are in and like a simple thing like cord cutting, they can actually feel and see like, oh my gosh, this is a way easier way to deal with like a breakup or whatever than sitting with all of your feelings forever. Anyway, so that's one of the ways that we'd like to provide support for the collective of all the healers. These things are a little lofty. So this is like phase 1.5 or 1.75 or something, but we'd like to see kind of, a future where there's mutual aid for fellow healers and community members. One of the things we originally tried to start last year was after the flooding in Western North Carolina. We started a healing circle around that. We were really trying to get it to boost that up to provide healing services for those in the area that were affected. But it was just, we weren't able to get it off the ground. But those are the types of things we'd like to see, kind of like healers volunteering in the community, healers providing support for other healers, those types of things. Further down this list here, so business support, and Jennifer had like a whole thing that she had talked about gathering together information on how to start an LLC. So it was just something, I think, not to put words in your mouth, but you had done when you started your LLC, and it's just information that she has. Okay, well, let's try to maybe set up a meeting for, people who are new to setting up their healing practice, offer some support on, hey, I've gone through this. This is how I set up my LLC. If there's somebody maybe in the group that's good with website design, I don't know, just to be able to kind of support each other. We'd like to see that grow into being more formalized, and maybe we bring people in that are able to talk about like a tax accountant or whatever, again, something that can grow over time. But we'd like to see that kind of backbone of business support to be able to aid each other. This is something that came up a couple weeks ago when we did the kind of big picture presentation, was shared healing centers. So we do know that there are places like Soulella Holistic and Energescence and New Earth that do offer their space for healers to practice out of. It seems like there used to be a place in Raleigh that a couple of people jointly subscribed to a healing center where I'm not sure if they exactly shared the rent or exactly how the logistics work, but they were able to go on there and register to if they had a client, they could go on and book a room, so it's kind of like a simpler way of having a facility without having to maintain that space over the course of time. It was kind of just like a pop-in type thing. So, that's something that people were talking about at our last meeting, and we'd like to be able to offer that at some point if that's an interest for other people as well. So any other ideas here about support or sustainability? Okay, next one. And then this is, I think we kind of talked about throughout, but there'll be definitely aspects that will make sense to be local and more, like the fun times group, the volunteering in your community. Those things are very like locally based, right? But we want to see some of those that maybe kind of roll up to regional. And I mean, we'll see, like as it grows, maybe those things can shift and change, but we like to see that maybe like the podcast, the talk show, whatever, is more of like a regional basis, right? Like, I don't know if we need just a Raleigh one, or we'll see over the course of time. But also, what was another? But then some of the core things like the directory itself, obviously we're not going to have like one of those for every region, like the directory itself is the national global like directory, right? We point everybody to that because you have the ability to search by region. It's really nice too. You can actually pull down a link directly from the search that you can filter by an area, or you can filter by a time frame and just post that link itself. So it's really flexible, and that would be something that would be at that, again, like largest level. Whereas like, as you get down the line, it makes more sense for, again, like some of the stuff to be advertising even. You know, somebody needs to be kind of more locally looking at ways to advertise or host events. So we recognize that there's going to be different layers to this as to how it's set up in different levels. So any other ideas there? Okay, next one. And this is kind of a down the line thing, you know, sort of. Right now the directory itself is the only paid aspect of Healers Unite. So Soulella has a fee to join. Now what we see in the future is that there's kind of just like dues, or like an amount that you pay per whatever, that then provides all of these different features for you. You know, like, okay, then you'll have the directory itself, you know, you have the advertising support, you have the talk show, all of these things that are benefiting you in your business, and the backbone of those needs to be supported as well. So that's one of the things that we see, that, you know, dues will be needed at some point. We don't have all of it worked out right now, obviously. So just something that to anticipate, but something that we would work with the group on, you know, coming up with what that amount is going to be. But we always want the connection in the community to stay free. So the meetings themselves and the connections, like in that way, and like the fun times group and the volunteering and all those things and meeting people, that we really want it to always kind of stay free, you know, so that you can come in to this without the means and still find your community and your people. So I know that personally, that's, you know, one of the reasons I've not been able to get out in the community a lot, is like there is a you know, a pay range to, or a pay scale to participate in a lot of events, right? So it's hard for somebody that's just, you know, making it by, or, you know, somebody who's just starting to come in and like attend all of these events, if there's a, you know, fee for them. So that's why we'd like to offer this community that is free and isn't like a paid class or whatever. And there's a need for classes. There's a need for people to charge for those things. We just want to see an alternative for building community. Whereas like, this is just for the connections. But if you want to like do a full moon circle, okay, you know what I mean? Like that's a paid event that somebody else is hosting, right? That's different than like, okay, this group's coming together to just like talk and share and support each other. Yeah, so this is our grassroots movement that we are working to build. And we are, you know, trying to emphasize that now is the time to join, because now is the time where you're going to have the biggest influence and the biggest voice in the process, right? So if you're on the ground with us, like, you know, helping out and trudging through all of this, then you're helping to design it. And just as a little background too, you know, I came into this about a year ago or so, with the idea that I was going to start the directory and the idea that I was going to start the social network, and, you know, loosely these other ideas, but those were the two that I was like, these are my things. I purchased a directory. I purchased and, you know, had like paid the monthly fee for a social network, met Karen. Karen had the better directory. We went with Karen's. Okay. So I feel like it's like collecting people on the way, right? Like it's like our yellow brick road, right? So, you know, met, I don't know who Karen wants to be. I'm not going to assign like a role. But anyway, so like, you know, met Karen along the way. She had a directory. We decided that her directory was the better fit. Okay, so now we're moving down that path with her directory along the way, trying to make my social network work. You know, got a few people here and there, not a lot. Met Yoli Ray. She has another social network that she was trying to get off the ground. Hers is way better, turns out. Guess what? Yoli's now on the club. She's walking down the yellow brick road with us. Okay. So we're looking for those people. Like, is there a vision that you have that is like a thing, or is it like, okay, yeah, no, I can see this vision and I think that I fit in here. That's what we're looking for. Where do you fit in? Come join us on the yellow brick road. You know, there's place for everybody, and now's the time to do it. What's the next one? Next slide is the invitation. So yeah, and this isn't, that's the other thing, like I'm trying to emphasize, is this is me leading, right? But it's not top-down decisions, okay? This is rooted in community. We are sharing some of our seeds, but we want to hear your seeds. We want to know what else there is out there as far as ideas. We're not on the ground practitioners right now either, right? So that my path was like, you know, sidelined because I saw the dysfunctionality and was just like, no, I need to help with this before I can help, like, you know, actually heal people. There are people that are healing people already. My role looks to be the organizational piece. That's me, but it's still not me understanding all of the problems that you experience. Okay, so which is why we're going to send out this survey, because there might be something we are wholly missing. I don't know. Maybe it's that like you are abused by clients on the regular and you need like security or something. I don't know. But like, what is it that is out there that you need support from other healers in the network for? So we'd like to hear more about that, and have you be inspired to help, you know, from that start something, right? Like link into our network, right? Like we're all, again, walking down this yellow brick road. So if I see Tin Man in the woods there and he's got some good ideas, like, all right, cool, come on board. Like we're all going to be better together with all these ideas that we have to grow a bigger network. Next slide. Oh, and I did. So I really leaned into this last night. I was trying to remember what it was that you guys were talking about, some of the work that you've done in this part of the shamanism program. And I was trying to think of like what it was that I was working on last night. But I had this kind of feeling of, you know, the work that we are doing with this is rooted in feminine, the divine feminine, and kind of bringing those aspects into business. And I think that, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with masculine, obviously, right? But it's just that I feel like it's out of balance. And I think that, you know, how do I want to say this without like being political, but I just think that right now there's like not a lot of care in business, right? And not a lot of concern for other people. It's more money, it's more, you know, make the dollar, like, you know, streamline and like make this like you know, money for the those on top. We are bringing a different mindset to this, okay, which is why it looks weird, which is why it's difficult to convince people, right? But we're rooted in this, again, divine feminine. We want to be centered on balance, care, connection over competition. That's not like, it's just not even our mindset that there's competition out there, right? So we are concerned about everybody's well-being, obviously probably too much, and reclaiming like that shared effort where we work together. So shifting away from survival, again, especially in our paths where we have to maintain these other jobs and they're, you know, doing this as a side gig a lot of times, and just that amount of like effort and work having to be put into this it's a lot. So, you know, we really want to see this shift to community-centered thriving, and return to softer, wiser way. Next slide. So what we're asking is if this resonates with you to just take one step to help it grow. Okay. So if that is sharing a post of ours, if it is physically talking to somebody, like hopefully you at least have one spiritual minded friend or associate that you are, you know, around but, you know, bring our cause to them, you know, talk to them about it, start a conversation. Like, hey, you know what I've always wanted to do is, I don't know, like, now I can't think of an example, but, you know, like this is I've always wanted to do the advertising, you know, like I thought it'd be awesome to put stickers all over a bar about somebody cutting the cord to that douchebag, right? So this is like something that like I want to like see if my friend wants to do with me, and then again link into our network and come, you know, bring those ideas to us and say, hey, here's something I was thinking. We have a meeting tomorrow about, you know, the social network. There's somebody else I'm talking to. It's like, we met with somebody who does events last week. So it's, you know, especially one-on-one conversations are really helpful in this, like whatever we're doing, because it's nice to hear like kind of all of what you have to bring to the table and what you're thinking, and, you know, where you are struggling and where you see other people struggling. So just whatever you're able to bring is helpful. And if there's nothing that you really are inspired by or want to do, then just share our stuff. Okay, that's simple, very little effort, you know, just click a button and share it, or also just physically talk to other people about it and share it. And we are saying here too that making participation visible and welcoming and being first is very brave. So I have I said Diane Reiser's my online person. She's in that chat, like nobody's participating, but I am chatting anyway. And she's out there like talking. And that's like the vibe that we need. Like, yeah, it's fucking uncomfortable and it's weird, right? It's weird to be out there like, I'm not even talking to anybody, but I'm out here trying. That's what we need. We need more people to kind of be weird and start talking about this and start, you know, participating and making it more visible and welcoming for others. So be the one that takes that first weird step. Because the more of us that show up, the stronger we all become. So as I said before, we're going to send out a survey to just see what you kind of feel like should grow first. Obviously, we need the support to be able to grow things. So right now it's going to have to be like one at a time until we have like a bigger support network. But again, if there's something that you have a vision of that you'd like to bring to us, put that in the survey. There's multiple ways to contact us. I think that's on the next slide. So that's our email address. Our website here is, we just linked to the link tree. So the link tree just holds other links. So there's a lot of different other links there, including if we have meetings, the meeting links will be there. What else? Links to the video about our big picture. This video will be there. Let me see. Yeah, and links to Soulella and kind of how to set up your directory listing there as well. So lots of useful stuff there. That's kind of always going to be like the central point, I think, of where to find us and where to find information. So you can follow us on Instagram. Currently, that's the only social media we have because it's only me and Karen doing the social media. Soulella has a Facebook page. Healers Unite has an Instagram page. We'd like to see Healers Unite have all three of the big ones, but one is beyond my capacity in one age range, and the other one's beyond my capacity in the other age range. So I'm solely Instagram age, I feel like. And then here too, anything that you are sharing personally too, or if it's Hive related, or I don't even know. I haven't gotten that far to think if it could be. I guess it could be any content really, but like tag Healers Unite in your content. Once we again start to try to build that up, you know, more people are then going to be able to see people sharing content with the Healers Unite tag. Once we are able to